Now, President Trump on Friday in Alaska hand-delivered a letter from First Lady Melania Trump to Russian President Putin. The First Lady asked Putin to save the innocent children, saying, quote, "In protecting the innocence of these children, you will do more than serve Russia alone. You serve humanity itself. It is time." Ukraine says the Russian military kidnapped thousands of Ukrainian children during the war. And joining us now to discuss tomorrow's planned Trump-Zelenskyy meeting is Kervin Okwin, former lead intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance coordinator for U.S. Army, and Jeff Crouere, political analyst and TV and radio host. First of all, thank you very much to you both for joining us today. And Kervin, I'll start with you today. What has been President Trump's strategy, in your opinion, leading up to the engagement tomorrow?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on this panel. I always look forward to these. I will say that it's always been what Trump has wanted, which is he wants peace here. He really does, and I really believe that he wants peace, and he's going to get it in any way that he can. So we saw back in February, very high level, very public outbursts between Zelenskyy and the Trump administration. Now we are seeing this red carpet rolled out for President Putin and these talks with Putin. He's been very, very stern, I think, with Putin. That is something that I believe the American people were not expecting. And he is going to try to get to peace any way that he can. And that's going to take capitulation on both the Ukrainian side, but now that we're seeing also on the Russian side.
So, Jeff, what do you think? Kervin was talking about the red carpet being rolled out for Russia's Putin, and as well, it was actually Putin who called this meeting on Friday. So what do you make of how Trump is handling the situation? How much progress was made, and what do you expect from tomorrow?
Well, thanks for having me. I think it's been incredible progress. I mean, we finally have serious negotiations going on, and President Trump is personally involved. He met with one side throughout the first few months of his administration. He met with Zelenskyy multiple times. It makes sense when you're trying to bring about peace, so you have to talk to both sides. So, of course, he had to talk to Vladimir Putin, but he did it in this country. So Putin came here. And I think President Trump had the upper hand because obviously we have the threat of severe sanctions on Russia, which could be crippling. So we're holding that back. That is going to come, as Marco Rubio said, if this thing is not resolved. We've got a man who is a world-class peacemaker as our president, someone who has resolved conflicts now in his first term and his second term, who should have won the Nobel Peace Prize years ago. And if there's one man that can bring about peace, it's Donald Trump. And I think he has the trust of Putin. I think he's got the trust of Zelenskyy. And he can do it. So it sounds like from the reporting that Russia maybe is making some concessions as far as the kind of security guarantees that Ukraine would need. If they can come to some kind of agreement on the land, then maybe the killing can stop. And I think that's what President Trump wants the most.
So, Kervin, what do you think about what Jeff said? President Trump ending war after war after war. But it seems like this one is a little bit different. It's taking him a bit longer. What do you think a peace agreement hinges on right now?
Well, obviously, it's land, right? The Ukrainians will not accept a capitulation to land. This is one of their red lines. That they're not going to agree to that. But at some point, they're going to have to. Look, this is war. And in war, sometimes you are going to have to agree to things that you don't want to make peace. So with that said, I think we have a delicate balance here with Zelenskyy coming to the United States to discuss what was discussed with President Putin. And I think he understands that. That's why he is bringing multiple. He is bringing the Avengers of Europe, right? He's bringing Macron. He's bringing Starmer from the UK. He's bringing the Italian PM. All of these people are coming because he doesn't want another February incident. He wants to show that he's got the backing of Europe, and that whatever is agreed to is going to be agreed to from the terms of the Ukrainian side. So Zelensky's going to have to play this very carefully. He is going to have to speak to Trump in his own terms, And he's going to have to play the game that Trump wants him to play, which is get to peace, right? Get to peace that you think you can agree to and that the Ukrainian people can agree to and that he can bring back to Putin to get to stop the slaughtering of millions of not just military people, but we're also seeing civilians getting killed in these actions.
So, Jeff, what do you think? What does it hinge on right now for peace? Kervin was talking about that this is war, right? Perhaps there may be concessions to be made by Zelenskyy or by Putin. So what do you think? What would be a decent outcome for the meeting tomorrow, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I think President Trump obviously has an offer from Putin. He knows where Putin stands. They spent 3 hours together on Friday. He's just posting on social media, as you referenced, big progress. So I think we see a potential solution here. Here's my advice for Zelenskyy. Show up in a coat and tie. Show up in a suit. Show respect for the United States and the presidency. Don't come in a tracksuit. Show respect for the billions of dollars that we have given Ukraine. And all of that military equipment has allowed Ukraine to stay in the fight. Without the United States, this war would have been over years ago. But the United States gave the military contribution to Ukraine to allow them to stay at least on equal footing with Russia, because right now it's pretty much a stalemate. So we've got to come to a solution somehow where Russia gives back some of the land they've taken, but still keeps some. Ukraine gets security guarantees that they're not going to be invaded again, but is not in NATO. There is a way to make this fine line work. And I think, again, President Trump's the guy to do it. And imagine if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris were still president. We wouldn't be having any peace talks. The war would still be raging. Biden had no diplomacy during his years of presidency. He's the one that gave Russia the green light to invade, calling it a minor incursion. So, I mean, thank goodness we have the Trump team in place now where we can maybe bring about a peaceful solution to this.
Okay, Kervin, what do you think about what Jeff said? I found it kind of humorous that his advice to Ukrainian President Zelenskyy is that don't wear a tracksuit, right? Because we know how the last meeting went. It was borderline a shouting match between the two sides. So what do you expect for the meeting tomorrow? What are the priorities that Ukraine's Zelenskyy have going into this meeting?
Yeah, look, I'll push back on that a little bit. Do not show up in a suit and tie. Show up as a hardened leader of a war-torn nation. That's what I would do. Someone who's been in conflict, someone who has seen the devastation of war. Don't show up. To show up as the leader of a war-torn nation. That's what I would do. I would also play to Trump's transactional way of leadership. Tell Trump that you are ready to, you've signed the mineral deal. We are ready to give that money to the United States. We are ready to pay back the equipment that was sent to Ukraine because you need that back. You need those for a future conflict. You may need those munitions back. So play to that leader of a war-torn nation, because that is what is happening. This is a guy who has had, or this is a man, a leader who has had multiple threats on his life from a aggressive nation, from an aggressive leader in Putin, and demand. I'm really happy to see that Article 5 like approvals could happen. Article 5 like protections for Ukraine. This is something I've been talking about on this very network for months and months since this has started. I think that is a good path forward. But Ukraine is going to have to decide what land they can do without, because within this war, and that we are on a stalemate in this war, they are going to have to cede some of that land.
Okay, Jeff, you get the final thought here. At this point, what do we know that could convince Putin to end the war that he started?
Again, I'm going to push back on my friend and say, show up in a suit, okay? I want him to have a good relationship with Donald Trump. Donald Trump values people wearing suits in the White House. I'm just saying, I understand Zelensky's a wartime leader. I'm just saying, for the best chance of having a good interaction with Donald Trump, wear a suit. We'll see. Maybe we can gather later and see whether he wore a suit or he wore his normal outfit. What I'm sensing is that we're at a very positive position right here. That President Trump's statement he just made on social media gives me a lot of hope. I do think we're closer than we ever have been since this war started to get this resolved. I think if the meeting goes well tomorrow, we could very well see a resolution to this in short order. I know President Trump is pushing for that to happen quickly. That's why I think he felt so good about the meeting on Friday. A lot of the media criticized it, but I think it was crucial for the two of them to meet face to face. And President Trump pulled that off in this country. Putin came here, which I think, again, was important. And I'm very optimistic that this is going to be resolved. As long as this meeting goes well tomorrow, and I hope it does, I'm praying that we're going to see an end to the killing, because that's the thing that really, I think, bothers President Trump the most, the needless killing on both sides of this war.
Right. I mean, we're all hoping that the meeting goes well, right? The war has lasted way too long, way too many people killed. Well, all right. I'm sure there's plenty more to be said about this conversation, but we'll leave it there for today. Thank you both for coming on.
Thank you.